So let's talk about AI. We all know it's supposed to change everything, right? But here's the dirty little secret behind all the hype. Most AI projects are failing. And I'm not just talking about a tech issue. This is a huge business risk that can burn through millions and torpedo your strategy. As a leader, that's a gamble you just can't afford to take. In this explainer, we're going to dig into some really important research from the RAND Corporation and give you a practical guide for dodging those common AI pitfalls so your projects actually deliver. Let's just start with a number that should really make you sit up and listen. 80%. Yup, some estimates put the failure rate for enterprise AI projects that high. That means 4 out of every 5 projects just don't do what they were supposed to. It's a staggering number, and you've got to understand why before you invest another dime. And just to put that 80% number into context, look at this. It's double the failure rate of your typical IT project. So this isn't just business as usual. AI is a different beast. It presents this really unique, really urgent challenge that demands a whole new way of thinking from leadership. Which brings us to the big question, right? What is going on here? Why is there such a massive gap between what we're promised with AI and what's actually happening on the ground? Well, the RAND Corporation talked to 65 super experienced data scientists and engineers to find out, and they pinpointed the root causes. What the researchers found is that these failures aren't just random bad luck. Nope, they fall into 5 very distinct categories, which they call anti-patterns. You can think of these as common traps that organizations stumble into over and over again, and knowing what they are is the absolute first step to making sure you don't do the same. All right, so here are the 5 big culprits the research uncovered. These are the traps that are tripping everyone up. Starting with the wrong problem, dealing with a critical data gap, getting caught in the technology trap, running into an infrastructure hurdle, and finally, a big old difficulty mismatch. Let's break down what each of these really means. You know, the number one reason for failure has almost nothing to do with fancy algorithms. It's all about a fundamental communication breakdown. Way too often, the business leaders and the tech teams just aren't on the same page about the actual problem the AI is supposed to solve. If you get this part wrong right at the beginning, honestly, nothing else you do is going to matter. Next up, the data gap. Look, AI models are hungry. They need tons and tons of data to learn. And not just any data. They need high-quality, relevant data. So many companies think they have what they need, but they just don't. They overestimate how good or how much data they have, and they end up with models that are totally ineffective or worse, give them bad answers. And then there's this one, the classic shiny object syndrome, the technology trap. Teams get so excited about using the coolest, newest AI tool on the market, but they completely lose sight of the most important question. What problem are we actually solving for a real person? The tech itself becomes the goal, instead of just being the tool to get you there. You know, you can build the most amazing, genius AI model on the planet, but if you have no way to actually roll it out or manage the data pipelines feeding it, it's completely useless. This anti-pattern is all about the unglamorous but absolutely critical back-end stuff, the data governance, the infrastructure that lets an AI model live and breathe in the real world. And finally, there's the difficulty mismatch. Let's be real, there is a ton of hype around AI, but it can't do everything. It has limits. Some projects are doomed from the start because the organization is trying to throw AI at a problem that is just way too complex or nuanced for today's technology. It's all about being realistic and knowing when AI is the right tool for the job and when it's not. Okay, so we've looked at all the ways things can go wrong. Now let's flip this around and talk about how to get it right. Because the RAND report doesn't just point out the problems, it gives us a really clear blueprint for success. It shows us how to turn these anti-patterns into a real, actionable playbook for leaders. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. Instead of getting the goal wrong, great leaders make sure their tech teams have deep domain context. They really get the business. Instead of chasing shiny new tech, you focus like a laser on the problem. Instead of using AI for the wrong things, you understand its limits from day one. And you recognize that quick, short-term projects often fizzle out, so you pick big, endearing problems that are worth a real commitment. I mean, this quote from the research just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's such a powerful reminder for every leader to constantly be asking why before you ever get bogged down in the how. The goal is never to just do AI. The goal is to solve a real, important business problem. So what do you do with all this? Let's boil everything we've talked about down into a strategic playbook that you can start using literally today to steer your AI projects toward success and keep them far, far away from that 80% failure rate.
All right, here is your 4-point plan. First, prioritize context. Make it totally non-negotiable that your tech teams deeply understand the business side of things. Second, commit for the long haul. AI is not a quick fix. Be ready to back a team for at least a year working on a tough, enduring problem. Third, invest in your infrastructure upfront. Don't you dare treat it like an afterthought. And fourth, get a feasibility check. Bring your tech experts in at the very beginning to make sure the problem is even solvable with AI in the first place.
So we'll leave you with this one question to take back to your teams. Think of it as the ultimate gut check for any AI project you're considering. Is your strategy built around a cool new tool, or is it built to solve a deep, meaningful, and lasting problem for your business? Because the answer to that question will probably decide which side of that 80% statistic you're going to end up on.